Hello, and welcome to the maiden edition of our program titled Building High Performing Teams on Amorgate Radio Communication. I am your host, Titilola Ogushono. We want to thank everyone who took part in our program in the last quarter. We sincerely appreciate your comments, feedback, and suggestions. This quarter, we'll be zooming our lenses on the role and importance of building high-performing teams, strategies for building such teams, how to lead high-performing teams, elements of creating an enabling environment necessary for building high-performing teams. We'll also be looking at different stages of team building. In addition, we'll also look at motivation issues. How do we motivate team members and also on team bonding, among others? Today, I will be discussing on a high-performing team is. We would also be looking at those characteristics that differentiate a high-performing team from others. Can you say that all teams can be termed high performance? So we'll be looking at that. A high-performing team is a concept in organizational development that refers to social entities, which include teams, organizations, or virtual groups that are focused on achieving common goals, which could be short-term goals, medium-term, or long-term goals. And it also be viewed as a group of talented people with unique skills and expertise who work effectively together by collaborating, innovating to deliver consistently outstanding or superior results. So for your team to be termed as a high-performing team, it means that not just some of the time or most of the time, you must consistently, as a team, deliver outstanding or superior results. Now the question is it possible to deliver superior, outstanding results at all times as a team? Yes, the answer is yes, it is possible. So if it's possible, so what are those characteristics that differentiate this high-performing team? What are those elements that are crucial to be present in your team that will enable you to deliver consistent, superior results at all times? Okay, so we'll be looking at those characteristics, not really in order of importance, but let's even say the basis. Let's even start with the basis. The first characteristic of a high-performing team is that there is clarity about goals and purpose. What do I mean? There is clarity about what needs to be achieved. The main goal or the objectives of the organization is clearly stated. The vision of the organization is stated. You are aware about what the organization seeks to achieve. Now, before you can have different teams in the organization, there's an overall picture. There's an overall goal. That's where the organization is going. This has to be clearly articulated to team members. In addition, once there is clarity about the goals of the organization, about the vision of the organization, there is also clarity about what needs to be achieved. You need to know what needs to be achieved by the team, the purpose of the team. Why does this team exist? So if you have, for instance, a recruitment team, you have a research team, an innovation team, whatever team it is in organization, you need to be aware of what needs to be achieved. Why are you in existence? Why was the research team? Why was it even formed in the first place? So there must be clarity about the purpose of the team. Each team member must be informed about his or her role in achieving the team objective. I need to know, if I'm a part of a team, what I need to do. What are the expectations of the team from me? So I need to be aware of all of these things. There must be clarity about it. There must not be any room for ambiguity or confusion about what each team member has to do. Everyone has a role to play in the team's overall success. So if I'm a part of a team, every team member needs to know about what role, what is that part you're going to play in the overall success of the team. So in other words, I'm saying the vision, the mission, in fact, the measurements of performance must be clearly stated. I need to know how I will measure. I need to know what my role is. I don't have to be unsure at any point in time what I need to do. So it must be clearly spelled out. If this is done, that's even the basis of a high performance team. It has to be clearly spelled out. I need to know what role that I need to play. Let's look at the second point in talking about differentiating high performing teams from others. You must have a good blend of exceptional talent with diverse skill set. It's important that in a team you have individuals with unique skills set. This is very important. Now, for instance, if you have a strategic team in an organization, you are going to be having people with organizational development skills. You are going to have another person with finance skills, another one with IT skills, another one with engineering skills, another one with even AI skills. When you imagine such a team having different people with different skill sets, it adds to the efficiency and effectiveness of that team. So you realize that in a particular team, you have some people with their areas of strength, and we have some people with their area of weakness. Somebody who is so good at development is not likely to be very good with AI skills. Yes, sometimes you could have someone with both of the skill sets, but not at the same level. So when you have people with these diverse skill sets, it helps a team. It adds to the robustness of that team. And I would also say that you must have a team that they complement one another. What do I mean? Someone's weakness is another person's area of strength, and another person's area of strength is the next person's area of weakness. So complementing your skill sets in a particular team really helps. And this speaks to your recruitment strategy. How do you recruit your people? So you must articulate proactively what are those skill sets that you need to achieve your set objective as an organization. In fact, even when you are recruiting, you need to articulate what are those crucial skill sets to your organization, to your various teams in the organization. Once you can get it right at the point of recruitment, having high-performing teams becomes something so easy for you to achieve as an organization. You can never solve the problem created at the point of recruitment with training and development. You can't get the wrong peg in the wrong hole. It's going to be a misfit for organization, and achieving consistent, superior results would just be a myth. It will not be a reality in your organization. Another characteristic I'm going to speak to is having the right cultural practice as an organization. You must have an environment of mutual respect. You must have a safe and enabling environment when opinions can be truly shared without any fear of being victimized. That's why I'm speaking to your team members having what we call psychological safety. You must have an environment where people feel safe psychologically. You must have an environment where there is no bias. When there is no bias among your team members, you must ensure that you have an environment where effort of each team member is duly recognized. You must ensure that you celebrate their small wins. It's very important. It's crucial. Team members must be encouraged to consistently produce superior results once the environment is right for them. You must create a culture where people can be themselves. You must create an environment where people can grow, an environment where people see that they are valued. When you have employees, team members that feel valued, that feel that their opinions count, that feel that their voices can be heard, definitely you are talking to a high-performing team. Any team that does not have the right your people feel that sense of psychological safety, where your people feel valued, cannot be termed to be a high-performing team. So you need to start checking yourself. Start checking your team as a team leader. As a team lead, anywhere you are. My environment, is there clarity about goals and purpose? Do we have a good blend of exceptional talent with diverse skill set? And do we have the right cultural practice? The cultural practice is existing in my organization among my team members. Will it enable my team to perform at its speed? This is one area that we need to start checking ourselves. Now we'll move to the next point. You need to look at your open and effective communication channels. High-performing teams have open and effective communication channels where you see the roles and expectations of every team member. What you expect from them are clearly communicated. They are aware about the metrics that they will be assessed with. They are aware of what their contribution to the overall team success is. They are aware. And the issues here are openly and justly addressed. That's the truth. When there are issues, definitely when you have team members, there will be issues here and there. But you must have that communication channel that would address issues openly, and they must ensure that they are fairly addressed. It's important. High level of transparency must exist in handling issues and communicating vital information. Once you operate at this level, where there is high level of transparency, this gives members a sense of belonging. And once they feel that sense of belonging, you can get their commitment. Another important thing is for high performance teams, they do not joke with feedback system. They make sure that they have effective feedback system. Communication is a two-way channel. You send out the recipient from the sender to the recipient, and again you must have a channel, an effective channel where your team members can ask questions and receive timely feedback. Timely, the word timely, I'm laying emphasis on it because you must set that timeline. Now, when questions are asked, when do you give feedback? So whoever is in charge of giving feedback, some organization will set 24 hours timeline, 48 hours, even 72 hours, but that depends on the sensitivity of your environment. It depends on the sensitivity of the project you are working on. For some people, 48 hours is too much. You can allow that period of time. For some people, 6 hours, even shorter than 12 hours I mentioned earlier. So it's important that you set that timeline to give timely feedback. And when you are even giving feedback to your team members, you must make sure that it's done in a constructive manner. You do not want them to feel that self-worth is being trampled upon. You don't want to give feedback in a destructive manner. You must do it in a way that they will see potentials for their growth. You don't want to do it in a way that they will feel discouraged and demotivated. Because when they feel discouraged and demotivated, you cannot get an engaged employee, and definitely your team cannot be a high-performing team. So it's very important. I also speak to conflict resolution strategy. For high-performing teams, they have adopted very efficient conflict resolution strategy. Definitely there will be areas of potential conflict. So as a team lead, as an organization, you need to identify areas of potential conflict. These should be identified, anticipated early. You must proactively anticipate these areas of potential conflict. And once you have identified them, what you do is to put measures in place in terms of processes and systems to handle conflict. So you have to articulate. For high-performing teams, they've been able to identify proactively what those areas of potential conflict are. They put processes, policies, mechanisms in place to address these conflicts efficiently. Definitely there will be areas of conflict. You can't take that out in any relationship, but proactively you have to identify how to address these areas of potential conflict. In fact, what it even does for you when you identify them proactively is that it can even help to put measures that would eliminate it totally. But you cannot even eliminate it, like we said. You put measures that will know how to handle it effectively. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for joining us. It's still a maiden edition of our program titled Building High-Performing Teams. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so the next one you were speaking to is decentralization of power. One unique thing about high-performing team is that decision-making, authorization is not left into the hands of few leaders. Rather, it is shared. And what it does is that it helps to build the confidence of team members and leadership capabilities. Rather than the traditional top-down approach where decisions are made just by top leaders, Okay, in this case, authority is delegated to members working closely to the project. So if you have a particular team, instead of waiting for top management to approve, take decisions, we understand that is a virtual world right now, and time matters a lot in the business world. So for high performing teams, they maybe identify this, and what they have done is to delegate authority, decision making, and is even part of their succession planning. Okay, it's part of their succession planning strategy. So you're already building leaders among middle-level managers, among your team members, which is very important. And this helps to make timely decisions and take advantage of opportunities faster. So rather than wait for top management, just few people start with other responsibilities, and you have timelines that have to be met. What they have done for high-performing teams is to delegate authority. Now we will also look for high-performing. One unique thing about them again is that they have clearly defined standard operating procedures. Okay, the operating rules, processes, standard, key performance indicators of measuring performance and improving performance are clearly spelled out. So there's no ambiguity about it. They're not left to the discretion of individuals, and I'm able to articulate what their standard operating processes would be, what people call the SOPs. So what are the rules? What are the indicators? How would each role be measured? What is the role of each team member? At what point do you do some of the things that you do? When do you report? Your reporting lines? How do you report? The manner of reporting? All of these things are carefully articulated and articulated and spelled out and made known, effectively communicated to every team member. This helps. You cannot take this away. What I've realized across a lot of firms, sectors I've worked with, is that for some organizations, some of them do not even have the standard operating procedure. Some do not even have processes spelled out, so that the team activities are built around an individual. Maybe it's a team lead. So what happens when the team lead resigns is that there is no template to work with. So for a high-performing team, we realize that there are templates to work with. Roles are not built around individuals. Rather, the teams, what you expect from each team, is clearly spelled out. And this is very important. Another one I'll talk about is for high-performing teams. One thing I've seen very strong is that they have a strong culture of motivation and recognition. They have effective motivation strategies in place. And yes, monetary is not just about money. It's not about monetary incentives. They have both monetary and non-monetary incentives. And this has proven to be very effective. In fact, sometimes some scholars have said that motivation, money, is temporary. You only motivate an individual in the short run. Now, just take a look at it. Your salary is increased by 30%. Now, and economics will tell you that there's a direct relationship between your salary and consumption. Marginal propensity to consume. That when your income increases, your marginal propensity to buy more increases. So sometimes, if you have been taking inferior goods, once your salary increases, you want to change the quality. Your quality of clothes that you buy, in fact, the quality of food that you eat, everything will change. So your marginal propensity to consume increases. So when you talk about monetary incentives, money incentive is they only motivate you in the short run. So naturally, by nature, within 2-3 months, your lifestyle will adopt, just change it to measure up with the salary increase. Okay, so we realize that non-monetary incentives are very crucial. They help a lot. Some people want to be celebrated. Some people want family trips. What some people want is even get away. They want international trainings. So you must know what works for the people. Some people even want, in terms of motivation, is even flexibility. I want more flexible work hours. So you have to understand all of these dynamics to it. So for high-performing teams, they'll be able to understand the dynamics and able to leverage on adopting effective monetary and non-monetary incentives. Well, empirical evidence has shown that was a 2020 Global Talent Trend report found a strong correlation between employee experience and business impact. It revealed that companies that rated highly on compensation and benefits saw 56% lower attrition rate, and that is a lot. So it means that once you get this well, for high performance team, they'll be able to get this well, and you are reducing your attrition rate by 56%. That is a whole lot. So you realize that for high performing team, one thing they've been able to do effectively is that they got in addition to that recruitment strategy, they got in that reward and recognition strategy right. So you want your team to be a high-performing one, it's time to start thinking about your compensation and reward strategy, because it's very important. And also, a 2023, a recent report, State of People Strategy report, showed that 67% of employees want pay transparency. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are not implementing this. What matters again to them is that in addition to paying them, there must be pay transparency. I want to know how much I'm entitled to. I want to know what do I have to do to earn a particular incentive. I want to know so that I do not feel that there's any form of bias in the organization. So if I'm giving an incentive, I want to be sure that this is fair. I want to be sure that whoever is promoted to the next cadre in terms of leadership, anyone saddled with that opportunity actually earned it. I want to know the metrics of that person who have earned it. So for high performing teams, once this is in place, it really helps. Okay, thank you for joining us today. We'll be right back after this break. So still on those characteristics, differentiate high performing teams from others. They take this on data. Have you taken data to find out from your people what motivates them? Have you taken time to find out about what has worked, the skill set needed in that team? So it's time to tell people, high-performing team, don't joke with the process is crucial. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining, we are discussing about the characteristics of high-performing teams, what differentiates them from other teams. The next point I want to talk about is that high-performing teams take data-driven, informed decision that deliberate on leveraging on data to taking that decision. You have to find out what works for your team, what works for your organization. Even in terms of recruitment, they look at what are those skill sets that they need. They get feedback about how effective their communication channels are, how effective their compensation and benefit strategy has been, how effective their processes have been. So based on this, if they need to reevaluate, if they need to change, if they need to tweak anything, they go back to the drawing board to do it. And they do this consistently, that deliberate about data collation analysis. So you need to ask yourself as a team lead, as a top management staff in an organization, do you do this? Are you deliberate about taking the pulse of your team members, taking the pulse of all stakeholders in taking your decision in your organization? Okay. The next one I'm going to talk about is that they are focused on creating an environment of learning and growth. They are committed to constant, continuous, regular learning and growth opportunities for their team members, because this helps their team members to be abreast of recent innovation in various fields of expertise. So they create an environment where the people must grow. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have for high performing teams. They realize that everything is changing. The environment demands more from them. Even the space of IT, innovations coming into every sector, even into every field, require that your people must be abreast and equipped with requisite skills needed to grow in the global community. It's important because we want to take advantage and have that competitive edge. It depends on the skill set and the value and the competencies of your employees. So high-performing teams do not joke with this. It's done on a continuous basis. It's done regularly. It's not a one-off. Most times when organizations have a decline in their profit margin, one thing they want to do is to cut down on training. But the danger is this: you cannot grow as an organization beyond the competencies of your people. So your growth is dependent on the quality of your work. So you have to be deliberate about training, continuous training of your people, creating the environment where they can thrive through learning and development championships. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the end of today's program. Remember, check your team if all of these characteristics mentioned are inherent in your team. Have you set clear goals? Have these goals been communicated? Do you have efficient open communication channels? You need to start asking yourself, decisions you make in your team, are they data driven? Do you have an environment? Do you have a culture where people feel psychologically safe? And do you have an environment where the focus is also on learning and development for your team members? Well, I'll leave you with the words of Michael Jordan. He says, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. A lot can be achieved with effective teamwork, and a lot can be achieved in an organization with a high-performing team. You can check us up at our Facebook page, Amogate, Instagram page, Amogate, and for your comment, feedback, suggestions, you can also send a mail to us at contact@theamogate.org for feedback. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you want to send a message to us on WhatsApp line, you can send it to +234 8079 574151. Remember, the strength of a team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team, according to Phil Jackson. Hope you join us same time, same station next week. It's bye from here. I remain Titilola Ogunshonu.